Hello, this is Miss Moreland. We're on Chapter 5, Video 5, 5.2 X and Y intercepts. So if you notice in your notes, it's pretty short. We're going to be just going through how to find the X and Y intercepts, and this is especially going to be beneficial for you later on in Chapter 6. Okay. So started with some vocabulary. The x-intercept, it's the x-coordinate of the point where the graph intersects the x-axis. So what you need to write down is intersects the x-axis. And the key thing to notice, let's use yellow, is the y-coordinate of this point is always 0. Okay, so that's for the x-intercept. The y-intercept, it's the y-coordinate where it crosses the y-axis, but the x-coordinate, notice, is always 0. So for example, if I were to draw a line here, the x-intercept is right here because it's on the x-axis. The y-intercept is right here because it's on the y-axis, because this is the y-axis. Right, so we're just going to look at two graphs that aren't in your notes just so you can recall. Pause the video and state the x-intercepts and the y-intercepts for each graph real quick. So you should have said the x-intercept is -2, and we can write that as -2 comma 0, because notice the y-intercept is 0, or the y-axis. And then the y-intercept here is 1, and we can write that as 0, 1, because as we said before, the x-coordinate of every y-intercept is 0. So this one, the x-intercept is -2, again, so we can write -2, 0, because the y-coordinate of every x-intercept is 0. And it looks like the y-intercept's up there at 3. And I was about to write it like this, but that's wrong. We want the y-intercept. So the x-coordinate is 0 for every y-intercept. So put that in your head. For the x-intercepts, the y-coordinate is 0. For the y-intercept, the x-coordinate is 0. Right? So we're going to jump down to the first example, just finding the x and y intercepts for 5x minus 2y equals 10. So to find the y-intercept, you replace x with 0 because every y-intercept has an x-coordinate of 0. So I'm going to write 5 and I'm replacing x with 0. 5 times 0 is 0, so I end up with this. So I really don't need that anymore. To get rid of that -2, I'm going to divide on both sides. So I found that my y-intercept is -5. Now what that means is the point on the line that is correlated with that is the point 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that is our y-intercept. Notice the x-coordinate is 0. To find the x-coordinate, we replace the y with 0 in the equation. So I'm going to rewrite my equation. And this time y becomes 0. And anytime you multiply 0, it's like that goes away. So I'm left with 5x equals 10. If I divide by 5, I get x equals 2. What that means is I go on this x-axis here, and I go to 2. And that's my coordinate 2 comma 0, because the y-coordinate for every x-intercept is 0. And the nice thing about finding the intercepts is now I have 2 points on a line, and that's all I need to graph, and now I can get an accurate representation of what this line looks like without having to solve y equals mx plus b. So in the next one, I want you to pause the video and find the y and x intercept. Right? So I'm going to find the y first, which means I replace x with 0. Okay? So I replace x with 0. I'm going to write that nicer. Okay, so I go -3. I'm replacing x with 0. So anytime you multiply 0, it's like that's gone. So I'm going to divide by 5. I now know that my y-intercept is 6. Notice at the end it says y equals 6. You're going to go on the y-axis to 6. And that's the coordinate 0, comma 6, because the x-coordinate is 0. Right? And now I'm going to find the x-intercept. That means y equals 0. So I go -3x plus 5 times 0 equals 30. It's like you multiply 0, that's gone, so I'm going to divide by -3 on both sides. So x equals -10. And what that means is I have the point -10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. and that's the point -10, comma 0 because the y coordinate is 0. And now I have 2 points. I can connect them and find out what my line looks like. Okay, right, we have one last one. 4x plus 2y equals 16. Pause the video, find the y and the x-intercept. So I'm going to start with y, and again, that means x equals 0. You should be thinking that in your head. So I'm replacing x with 0. So I'm left with 2y equals 16 divided by 2. Y equals 8. So this is the coordinate again, 0, comma 8, because the x coordinate for every y-intercept is 0. And to find the y-intercept, or the x-intercept, excuse me, that's when y equals 0. So you get 4x plus 2 times 0 equals 16, which really leaves me with 4x is equal to 16. So I'm going to divide by 4 on both sides. I get x equals 4. And what that means is I go on the x-axis now, the side-to-side axis, and I count 1, 2, 3, 4, and that is the point 4, comma 0, because I have the y coordinate of 0 for the x-intercept. And now I can graph the line. So instead of having to solve for y equals mx plus b on these, I can graph the line just by finding the x and the y intercepts. Now when you get to class tomorrow, we're going to go over the real world meanings of these and do a couple word problems. But for now, I want you to do the on your owns tonight, and I will see you tomorrow.